there's this idea that's been running around my mind in the war between attachments and authenticity. Now, what is that? Well, let's start with this side, attachments. Growing up in society, we've been taught that if we do certain things, if we act certain ways, we get the things that we want. We've been taught that, like, hey, if you do good in school, if you sit down in school as a kid and get some A's, and then you move on, and then you go to college, and you graduate for a good degree, and then you go on and get a job, and a good corporate job too, you eventually find a spouse, you have a family, and everything will be good, everything will be happy. And our behaviors have been molded to this kind of dream, this idea that, like, hey, if we act a certain way, we're going to get certain things. What is really the problem with this is that our authenticity. This might not be the way that we want to act. And we've been molded as children to kind of act a certain way, right? We've been molded as children to, not speak up, to not cry when we were kids, to not run around too much or have too much crazy energy. Been taught to kind of hold it in, to bottle it in, and that when we do that, we get certain rewards. And those rewards, they feel good, right? They feel good in the short term. But in the long term, they're not us. Our authenticity is really kind of cut down by society. And not even just society, too. We find ourselves attached to certain relationships with our family, our mother, our father, maybe our partner, a brother, sister, that if we act a certain way, this relationship will stay there and it'll be good. It'll be good in the long term too. And in the long term though, it's not really helping us. Maybe we're taught by our mothers or our fathers that, like, hey, if you act this way, this is bad. If you speak up against me, this is bad. And it's going to ruin our relationship. But if you continue to do what I want and go along with what I want, I'll be happy and this relationship will be good. And we really shut down our authenticity a lot of the times too. And on the other side, authenticity, it's us being us. It's 100% us being us. And whatever that may look like. Maybe some days you're sad and you're just sad. Maybe some days you're happy and you're ecstatic, you're full of energy. And maybe some days you're just angry. But it's just you being you in the present moment. It's not trying to be something else. Now, this is awesome. And this sounds really good. Like you're just a kid again. You can do whatever you want to. And you can be whoever you want to be in the present moment. And this sounds really awesome. But once again, what comes in play? Attachments. Now, these two lock heads a lot. And there's a lot of real reasons why they lock heads, and not even like quote unquote negative or anything like that. We need certain things in our life. We need a community. We need friends. We need partners. We need family. We need to be a part of something, maybe a job or something like that. So we do form our behavior, our authenticity to fit that relationship. Now the problem is when we are kind of conditioned into having these relationships and conditioned to having these relationships a certain way too. Maybe it's a job. Maybe you're working a corporate job and you're just like, bro, I was always taught that a corporate job was going to be good, but it's not for me. And I'm exhausted. I'm working 50 hours a week or something like that. Maybe you've been told that that's a normal thing, but it's really cutting into your authenticity. Now, when you find yourself in inauthentic attachments, because the problem itself is not attachments. The problem itself is inauthentic attachments. Being in a relationship that you don't want to be in, whether that be like with a close partner or a job, friends, or even like your family too. Being in a relationship that you're not, being in a relationship and you're not showing up as you, where you can't feel like you can show up as yourself. This really kind of kills authenticity in a lot of ways. So the major thing here, and everyone should do this at some point in their life, and I feel like everyone does, this is why we have midlife crises, but we take a step back. We take a step back from our attachments, from our relationships, and be like, hey, how am I forming these attachments? How am I forming these relationships right now? How am I showing up? Because a lot of these times, these attachments, these relationships, they're really forced in on us. We're just like, oh, this is the normal way to do things, to do life. but it's not normal for us. It's not honest for us. And that's the major thing of authenticity, is honesty. What do you want? What do you truly want? And trust me, being honest with yourself is sometimes the most hardest thing to do. I know it is for myself. I know it is for my clients. I know it is for my close family members and friends and partners and everything. It's really hard to be honest with yourself. Because when you're being honest with yourself, you got to really accept responsibility for a lot of things. And that can be really challenging, because once you accept the responsibility for a lot of things, then some work needs to start going into that. That's going to be really difficult. But you can't have 100% authenticity without 100% honesty, and honesty for yourself too. And once again, super hard factor, but super needed, because when you're honest with yourself, you're forming attachments, you're forming links, you're forming relationships that are you, and you're showing up maybe to relationships that you have right now that is the way you want to show up. So much of our life is us being thrown into attachments, being thrown into relationships, being thrown into this, being thrown into that, and we can't even take a step back to think about, is this how we want to show up? Is this the kind of relationship that we want? Is this the type of job that we want? But we really need to do that. We really need to kind of reflect and be honest with ourselves. Is this the way we want to show up? And you can't be 100% authentic. I'm sorry. There's a lot of times, put yourself in a relationship where you're with a partner. There's a criteria right there in the partnership. Maybe you're monogamous. Hey, you're not going to date or mess around with anyone else. You're with this person 100%. And if you want to be 100% authentic, then when another person passes by, you're just going to chase after them. But is that really being honest with yourself? Or is that really just kind of just diving into your own primal instincts too? Honesty and authenticity, they go hand in hand together. You can't have one without the other. And if you're 100% in the authentic zone, then your attachments, your relationships are just going to suffer. You're going to betray your friend's trust. You're going to really piss off a lot of people who are probably at work or with your family. Hell, you might not even have a job when you're way too over in the authenticity area. And you're way so deep into it too that there isn't no honesty. Because real authenticity is all about real honesty, real self-honesty. And coming into relationships and be like, is this how I want to show up right now? Because we need attachments. We need people just as much as we need authenticity. This is a yin to the yang. And sometimes they're really at battle with each other, because we're taught when we're born, where we showed up on this planet, to go straight to get attachments. We had no idea what authenticity was for us, because we weren't really bred into a society that enables authenticity, that enables you to be yourself as a child, as a teenager, and as an adult. And kind of be like, what do I want right now? And figuring that out, and figure out the attachments that you want. And once you figure out that attachment, bro, that opens up a whole new world. A lot of people think like relationships. I know a lot of men that I work with that have been single for the longest time, and they get into a relationship and they feel so enclosed in on themselves. Like there's a lack of freedom. For one, if there's a lack of freedom in a relationship, then maybe you should think about, like, do I need to be in this relationship or not? But if this is a recurring thing, if you keep getting into relationships and there's a lack of freedom, maybe it's more on you. Because a relationship actually opens up a plethora of freedom when a relationship is right for you. Opens up a whole new world where you can grow. And we need authenticity, but by God, we need our attachments too. Because we cannot grow by ourselves. We can grow way more with other people. There's only so much you can grow by yourself, but when you're with other people, or when you're with a job, you're with a career path, you're with something, when you're attached to something, you grow in a whole new way. And it really builds upon yourself. So we need both, but we also need to take a step back, be honest with ourselves. What type of attachments do we want in our life? But anyways, that was my spiel about the war between attachments and authenticity. Once again, if you want to know more about myself, click the link below. I'm a life coach that helps a lot of people through a lot of transitions in their life. I help a lot of men, I help a lot of veterans really overcome a lot of different transitions and the emotions around them and really kind of grow into whole new people. And on top of that too, I give out free breathwork sessions that are mind-blowing and can help you release a lot of things in your body. So click the link below to my website there, and you can find out more about me, myself, and I. And of course, if you like this video, like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later.